What's going on, people? Back with a bang. This is the Money Management, here to bring you guys a few stocks to watch for this upcoming trading week. Of course, the first thing I'd like to say today is happy Sunday, and I'm glad you're with me looking at stocks, because that only means you're going to keep improving and obviously brush up your strategy when it comes to trading. So in this video, we're going to look at a few different stocks which have earnings this week. We're going to look at some stocks I'm looking to play, some stocks which have bounced back, some stocks which are picking up, and of course some stocks which are looking good for a long-term buy and hold. Now, as you can see, I'm on ChatterQuant here, and the first thing I'm going to do is look at the earnings tab, because there are a few different stocks which have earnings this week, like NEO, like CCL, Nike, Adobe, even PHUN, if you guys still remember that stock from a while back. But like I said, Nike, after close on Monday, that could be interesting to see if it does run up in the anticipation of earnings. And then, of course, Carnival Cruise Lines. Well, you know that the cruise lines and the airlines and travel stocks have been having a hard time recently, so that should be interesting too. And then obviously, like I said, you've got other stocks like NEO. NEO is a Chinese stock, so it might pull up the rest of the Chinese stock or go down with the rest of the Chinese stocks like DD, JD, Alibaba, etc. It's just something to look out for. And yeah, of course, as always, we're going to go into some stocks now and just break a few things down. So the first thing I'm going to do right now is jump into trading view and actually look at Facebook stock, because Facebook is one which I did not play this past week, but I really should have. Now, with Facebook, one thing I want to tell you guys is long term, I always like this one for shares. I have shares of Facebook. I've been in it over 3 years now, and I think this is just one of those that you have to have in your portfolio. So to be honest, my levels for Facebook is pretty close to where it's at right now. And what I'm looking at here is Facebook calls. So if you look at this past week, it obviously ran from around $186 up to $216. And as you can see, I've got a pink line here, 220.63. Now, what is that? Well, that is a level for me where it should be safe, or at least in my opinion, it is a nice price point to get in on call options. So it's a previous level of pretty much a resistance, and if you can break past that, then we could start flying high and obviously maybe see 242 either the end of this month or most likely next month. But I definitely like Facebook above 220.63. Again, it's rallied from lows of 186 just this week. In a few days, it jumped up $30 and it's still looking to continue. And if you think you've missed out for a long-term buy and hold to get those shares, no, that's not the case. Just look how high it was before. Up 325 just a month ago, 355 just a few months ago. So remember that when it comes to Facebook. Next up, well, I did mention a Chinese stock to you guys, NEO, and that's what we're going to look at next. So NEO have earnings on the 24th of March. I'm not sure what day that is. Well, I think Thursday, if I remember. We just looked at it a couple minutes ago, but I think that's Thursday. So one thing I want to highlight with NEO is this past week, especially towards the end of the week, a lot of shares were traded with NEO, and in fact with the other Chinese stocks as well. So like Alibaba, DD as well. DD had 500 million shares traded on Friday. That's something to note. And you can kind of see that with the volume over here. So keep NEO on your radar. I think there's going to be an earnings run up. It's been on a crazy downtrend for the past few months, but just this week it started to uptrend again and rally from lows of $13 back up to $20. So it's almost doubled. And hey, look, there's my level. $30 is my price target. $30.20 is my price target. But I do think in the meantime it can start running up again. That would be great to see if NEO can start making some moves, because remember, if you just look at the past year for NEO, it was up $66 1 year ago, which is so much, so much potential to run up to. If it can get there again, who knows, this year, next year, whenever. But getting some shares at $20 might not be the worst thing you can do. So that's on my radar for this week in regards to the earnings. Next up, we're going to go with Lucid, because this is another electric vehicle company. Lucid also making a nice comeback, and it's also down from highs of $64 around last year. So it's very similar to NEO. But with Lucid, what I'm looking at here, let's just zoom in on a smaller time frame. If we just look at Lucid on a smaller time frame here, so look at the hourly chart, you can kind of see what's been happening. By the way, an hourly chart means each candle represents 1 hour of trading. But you see how Lucid has just been steadily climbing up this past week? Hour by hour, it's been steadily climbing up. I mean, ignore the supply and demand zones for now, but just look at how Lucid has been climbing up, steadily trending above the moving averages. That purple line is the moving average, and it looks like it's at a point right now where it could be getting back up to these highs where it was at the end of February, around $29 real soon. Of course, Lucid was up 4% on Friday, and if it can hold above the moving averages, I'll be looking at the $27 calls, $28 calls for this week. Maybe also look at the $30 calls for next month. But right now, I'm definitely looking at calls going to this trading week. All right, now for PayPal, a stock which has made a crazy recovery in regards to where it was just a week or two ago. And this is one that is paying nice attention to the moving averages as well. So one thing, let me show you with PayPal. I have a level right there, 118.29. PayPal is now at 118.77, as you can see here. That is a good sign because that was my price target for PayPal to start getting to the calls. And this week it rallied from the $95 range up to the 118 range, and now it's past my trigger for calls. So how will I play this? Well, similar to Lucid, I wait for a pullback towards the moving average, and as it uptrends again, get in on the calls. I fully believe that this is on the road to recovery, and long term, this is a stock to have. Yes, it's fallen off heavily, like one of the stocks we're going to look at next, but it also has great potential for recovery. Just up to January's highs, it's almost a 100% increase, 100% potential for return. And honestly, PayPal is one of those companies which is going to be around for a long time, has been around for a long time, and I don't see why it should be this cheap. RSI is telling us it's actually slightly overbought right now, but that's why I'm saying you should wait for a pullback to the moving average. But definitely the 120, maybe even 125 calls for PayPal for a couple weeks out are what I'm looking at. So I mentioned stocks which have sold off, and none other than Roblox is one of those as well. Up 7% on Friday. It had a great day. It had a crazy comeback. But again, it's one of those stocks which has so much potential to keep running up. Look long term, getting up to 70s, 80s. That's a 70-80% return on your investment when you buy it right now. If we go on a shorter time frame, look what's been happening more recently. So I'm looking at the 15-minute chart, trending nicely to those two moving averages, trending very nicely, bouncing on the moving average and continually rising up. I don't see how this one will fall again like it has done before. Obviously, $36 is a great price point to buy in. And if you want long-term shares, Roblox is one of those that I would definitely look at. I've written it in the Discord before, the price point for buying Roblox shares. And I think right now, RSI around 57, that's a good price point to buy. For Roblox, I would look at the $52, $55 calls. I don't want to go too far out of money because Roblox is one that can pull back quite heavily, as you can see here. Look at some of these pullbacks. So keep that on your radar though. Roblox I definitely like though, and after Friday's run up, I'm just going to wait for it to cool down a little bit and then enter this stock for call options like I mentioned. Next up, I want to have a brief look at Disney because Disney is a stock I like for long term, and it's a stock that I don't often play for options, but I do want to just review the chart with you guys. So it's at 140 right now. Just a couple weeks ago, it was around 129. Then this week again, it went down to 128. But here's the thing with Disney: the volume is quite low. It's not. I mean, it's not great volume, but it is one of those stocks, hey, that seems to be way oversold right now. One thing to kind of just keep in consideration when you do trade Disney is if the volume isn't great, you might not get the moves you like, especially for those of you who buy options, who are buying contracts. But it's trending nicely above the moving average, holding tight to the moving average. And honestly, I don't think I'm going to play it, but it is one I'm just kind of keeping on my radar to see how it moves. I mean, sometimes in a watch list, you just have those stocks that you have on your radar. So in this case, Disney is one of those. But let's move on to the last couple stocks now. I'm going to start with Nike. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm looking for Nike calls, and this is in anticipation of earnings, which is tomorrow. So do be careful with this one. So it's most likely going to be a day trade. But if you just look and see here, Nike hit lows of 116 this week before rallying, and obviously here you can see the gap up March 15th to March 16th. There was a gap up overnight from around $119 up to opening at $124, so that's a $5 jump. But what will I be looking at here with Nike? Let's zoom out. So I'm honestly looking at $135 calls. I'm going to just draw a line here to make it a bit easier. So I'll be looking at $135 calls. So around here. I'll be looking at some a little bit more expensive, $133.50 calls. So around there. And if we just zoom in a bit, what you want to look at with Nike is go on a shorter time frame. So for example, a 15-minute chart, and then just look at see how it holds close to that moving average. So I will look again for a pullback, so to around 131. Let's see, yeah, 131. That's around the level where I look for a pullback. Then of course a rally upwards. As you can see on Friday, it jumped 383 in a day, so that's 3% gain. If it can jump another $3, then if you take $134 or $135 calls, you'll almost be in the money. If you take anything less, 132, 131 even, obviously your contracts will be in the money. But again, earnings are after money, so this will definitely have to be a day trade. I don't really like holding over earnings, as you guys know, so we'll definitely have a look to see. Maybe we could also play after earnings. That could be interesting. And then let's have a look at IWM. So IWM is just similar to SPY or QQQ in that it pretty much relates to an index. So when you look at IWM, this is more about the growth stocks. Now, this past week, my price target for IWM was around $205.11. So that's around somewhere around here. That was my price target. Obviously, it's a sort of a resistance level, but it's obviously blown past that now. It's hanging above the moving average, and if you just check on it a couple different time frames, you might be able to see how it kind of trends. But look, let me just show you this. On hourly, it's a little bit overextended, so again, look for a pullback, maybe to around 206. One thing you just want to look at with IWM is just kind of see how a lot of the growth stocks are moving when you see this start moving. Now, I know we've got a couple of guys in the group who do play IWM, so it'll be cool to get their analysis and thoughts on this one. But hey, when it comes to long-term plays, IWM is definitely one I like around the $200 range. If you can get it less than $200, I definitely like it for a long-term buy and hold. And of course, some leaps. So I'm talking about 250 leaps for next year. If you just kind of have a look at where IWM was 6-7 months ago, and you kind of have an idea of what kind of levels you could look at for it. I mean, back in November, it was around 244. So if you get a 250 leap, even January, February next year, that wouldn't be so far-fetched. Of course, it's way out of money, so you need to just kind of have a look at the delta and the theta of whatever contract you do decide to get. But like I said, IWM kind of just gives you an indication of what the growth stocks are doing overall. The Russell 2000 is doing. And yeah, there's a few guys in the group who play it, so it'll be good to see what they say about it, like I mentioned. And then lastly, it's kind of a lotto play, let's say, MULN Automotive. So this was brought to my attention by a couple guys in the Discord when it was under 90 cents, and now it's $2.75. So it briefly hit highs of $3.15 Friday. Let's just have a look at that. And this is just on my radar to see what it does this week. Another stock I'm probably not going to play because I've missed my opportunity. A week ago, I was looking at it when it was under $1, but it's gone way past that now. But if you did get shares of this, at 80, 90 cents, then you've tripled up, you've quadrupled up on your money, and that is a great investment for you. So for those of you who, got some money to spend, maybe you can really profit off these shares if it pulls back towards $2 again, maybe even under $1 again. You could definitely have a look at that. And if you do want to try and touch the call options, maybe wait for the pullback to under 250, and then once you're under 250, if you can get in on the $2.50 contracts for April, that's probably your best bet. I don't think this is one which is going to go to, $5, $6 anytime soon. So I wouldn't touch the $5 contracts. But hey, if you want to try your luck, that might be something for you to look at. So that is mainly it for today's video, guys. As always, the main watch list, the full watch list, will be inside the Discord, so come and check that out. If you guys have not subscribed to the channel, please make sure you guys hit the red button and subscribe. Also make sure to drop a like and comment, because it really does help the channel, it helps the algorithm as well. And also make sure you guys check out the stock option starter pack. That's a group of 10 videos that you guys have access to for life. It talks to you all about options and everything, and I explain a lot of different things in there, so go check that one out. But thank you guys as always for watching today's video. I'll see you guys next time for another video. Peace.